Hello, Bonnie fans, and welcome into the debut episode of Bonnie's Basketball Now. We're here for one thing and one thing only, and that's, of course, Bonnie's basketball. I'm joined today by SBU-TV sports reporter Anthony Goss and Olean Times Herald men's basketball beat reporter JP Butler. We start today with the Bonnies entering the season ranked 23rd in the AP preseason poll, their first appearance in the ranking since 1971. This comes as no surprise, of course, as everyone from last year's starting lineup returns, in addition to some more depth on Mark Schmidt's bench. Now, JP, I'll start this off right now saying, they're coming in 23rd, one of just two mid-major teams with Gonzaga, of course, at number one. What do you think the ceiling is for this Bonnies team in terms of that ranking? Yeah, it's still kind of a wild thing to see, this local team, St. Bonaventure, with a little number 23 next to their name. And having previous experience as an AP voter, the whole thing now is ball's in their court. The A10 tournament first, and then the NCAA tournament, and then that's obviously what we're going to be talking about at the end of the year.
Yeah, and obviously with the excitement around the number 23 ranking, there comes expectations. And usually we're talking about Mark Schmidt's bunch as the hunter. They're looking to get to the top. They have a target on their back. They are the defending regular season and A10 tournament champions. They went to the big dance last year. They're starting from the top this year. So it's a different mindset for this team this year.
Yeah, and Mark Schmidt knows his starting lineup can't do it alone. He and associate head coach Steve Curran spent the offseason recruiting some fresh faces to the team. So starting with Coulibaly, Anthony, I know you've had some time to speak with him and kind of get to know him a little bit and see him what he's been doing in practicing. What do you think his role on this year's team will be?
Well, Coulibaly is going to be that first man off the bench in the front court. We saw Shun play a lot of minutes last year, and whether it's foul trouble or getting tired, it's not feasible for this team this year. Now, they didn't have that front court depth last year, but they will this year. And Coulibaly brings a high Division I pedigree from the ACC. He's a smart player. He can stretch the floor. And adding that to spell Oshun for a couple minutes here and there is going to be really a big boost for the Bonnies bench.
And maybe on the other side of the spectrum, Linton Brown's another guy, JP, that's going to be a big role on this year's Bonnies team. What do you think is going to be his type of situation to be with Mark Schmidt? Yeah, I got to think that he's going to be the other guy that's really going to be counted on right away. We'll see how it goes with some of the younger guys as they go along, but right off the bat, he's someone we know. He's a JUCO All-American. He's one of the best JUCO shooters in the country. That's the one thing that Linton Brown is bringing to the table. They're going to be that much better for it. And many around the country believe Kyle Lofton and Oshun Oshuni are headed for the league. Lofton named to the Bob Cousy Award watch list and Oshuni named to the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award watch list. So how are these off-season practices and workouts doing to get them ready for the pros? Take a look at what they said at A10 Media Day.
Future-wise, that's what pros, I've been hearing feedback that they need to see my offensive game more and my body and my strength. I've been putting on a lot of weight this summer, and it's been shown in practice, and I feel like I've been getting a lot more confident on the offensive end of the floor.
More like my athleticism. I can jump, but a lot of people don't really see that. It don't help playing 40 minutes a game, but I feel like this year I can get a little bit of a break, and I can really show how athletic I am.
Now, JP, between Kyle and Oshun, it seems like Oshun's getting kind of more of the NBA looks due to his size and defensive ability. But some NBA draft boards I saw were popping up earlier this week, seeing both of them going in that late second round. What do you think the realistic possibilities is of these two playing at the next level? Yeah, another really interesting component of this Bonnet team where you look at one mock draft that has both Oshun and Kyle going back-to-back in the second round of the NBA draft. With Oshun, it's just he's a rim protector, he's a shot blocker, whereas Kyle's a guard, but I think they'll both have certainly a chance. They're both hard-working guys that they want it. And it'll be interesting to see if this is something that might actually unfold on draft night in June. And then I think it's kind of a similar situation to Andrew Nicholson, would you say, Anthony?
Yeah, Andrew Nicholson had a big year in 2012. The Bonnies got some national attention that year, and he shot up the draft boards up to early first round, late first round for the Orlando Magic. The Bonnies are going to be on the national stage this year, and we'll see what NBA scouts think of them and what they can do to improve their game.
And the one thing I would say is that for as good as Andrew was offensively, that gave him a chance to be the number 19 pick in the draft, that's how good Oshun is defensively, where I think he may have that same type of avenue. Like we said before, this team hasn't been ranked in a very long time. This ranking comes with expectations. Is this program up to the task? Are they national championship worthy? Anthony spoke to members of the team to find out.
The St. Bonaventure men's basketball team landed in the first AP Top 25 poll of the season last week. AP hasn't ranked the program since 1971, the year after Bob Lanier left. Thus, excitement is building around the program. But head coach Mark Schmidt says the poll hasn't affected his team's mentality.
The games are played on the court. They're won and lost on the court. They're not won in the polls and the newspapers.
The Bonnies know teams will target them each time they play.
Each and every game, we're going to get everybody's best shot. We don't really feel the pressure because we're just out there playing basketball.
And with arguably more eyes on them than ever this season, the goal for the Bonnies remains the same.
The goal is just like last year. We want to go to the NCAA tournament, and we want to advance.
Anthony Goss, Bonnies Basketball Now.
Coming up next, we examine the Bonnies men's basketball team's 2021 schedule and discuss their biggest matchups this season. Stay tuned. And before we go, we take a look at some of the best moments from A10 Media Day last week.
Going to the NCAA tournament and being a number 9 seed, that's really, really hard. And to duplicate that, it will be amazing.
It's been shown in practice, and I feel like I've been getting a lot more confident on the offensive end of the floor.
I think with the new additions, we can kind of relax a little bit.
To make our offense even easier, our defense is going to have to take a jump this season.
I know I can shoot. I'm going to just keep shooting.
The only expectations that really matter are our expectations, not the outside world.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to Bonnies Basketball Now. JP, what do you think of the Bonnies' home schedule this season?
Well, I'll give you a game that nobody's really talking as much about when we consider the UConn, the Virginia Tech, the possibilities in the Charleston Classic. One I'm looking forward to in the non-conference is that Northern Iowa game. This is a tremendous mid-major team that's coming in. It's sort of the same ilk as a couple years ago when they had the Vermonts and the Northeastern and the Yales coming in. Both will be looking at it as another potential win for an NCAA tournament resume.
Yeah, and I'll throw in one quick. The Buffalo game, that should be a really close and hard-fought game. It's a rivalry game, Western New York game. Now, taking a look at the away schedule and the neutral site games, what stands out here? A lot of big schools, big games. What stands out to you?
Well, again, obviously, your UConn and Virginia Tech on a neutral floor. UConn, that could be a matchup of two ranked teams. They're number 23 and 24 right next to each other in the AP poll. Boise State in round one. That in and of itself would be a nice win for this program. And then obviously the hope is that then propels them maybe into a day two and a potential championship game. So last year, one thing that Bonnet didn't really have to worry about was just sort of that ruckus road environment, and Dayton brings it as well as anybody in the conference. That's 13,000 strong a night there.
Yeah, and another quick one I'll toss in is the Duquesne game with the new arena and the stadium that they have. That's going to be an interesting game. Even with the intense 3 games that they played last year, that one I think will be, could be a potential trap game if the Bonnies are trying to build a tournament resume, but another one I'd kind of keep an eye on.
You're right, and you know what? Duquesne hasn't been that great of late, although they have been better. But that's still a game you get up for because it's Duquesne, it's a rival. They've had some good games over the years, and this will probably be the same this time around.
Coming up, the veteran leader of the Bonnies women's basketball team and its star, Tori Harris, joins us in studio to break down her team's upcoming season and goals. Stay with us.
Not going with his starters to open up the second half. Tess Myers into the game. 3 to shoot for the Bonnies. Harris is going to flip one up, and she gets it to go.
That was probably the most difficult shot.
put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
My text to emoji ratio has gotten a little out of hand.
A little?
Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
Welcome back to BBN. Sitting with me now is what some would call the glue of the Bonnies women's basketball team. She averaged 11, 7, and 1 last season and is a veteran for this year's team. Her name, Tori Harris. Tori, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
No problem.
Now, I know you spent some time in California, training with a trainer, and I'm sure some other places as well, but kind of talk about what you did this offseason to prepare yourself for the upcoming year.
Yeah, so me and my brother, we trained together. So he was out in California because he wanted a change in scenery because he's on the East Coast. So we were both out there just training together. But it was more recovery just because our bodies were just kind of tired. So we just did a lot of recovery lifting, and it was just really fun just being together. We had the weekends off to chill out there, and it was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I know a name that you knew a lot before, Bonnies fans like myself is Nikki Oppenheimer. Came from JMU just like you did a few years ago. So what do you think that she's going to be able to bring to this year's team? And talk a little bit about your relationship with her.
Definitely shooting. It was just an instant friendship, and I was like to Coach Jesse, we need a shooter. And he was like, I'll reach out to her once she gets on the portal. And yeah, that's what I was like, get on the portal. Didn't really take much convincing. So yeah, once she got on the portal, pretty sure Bonnies was the first school to contact her, and now she's here.
Beautiful, yeah. And then on your coaching staff new this year is a former player, Coach Simmons. So having a former player on the coaching staff, what's the relationship like between you guys?
She just gives great advice. She was a great point guard. And you see it in practice when she just throws a dime without even looking, and we're oh, we forgot she was a player before. So her everything that she has to say is just so knowledgeable, and everybody you could tell when she's talking, everybody listen.
And then this past week the A10 preseason poll came out, and they had you kind of towards the bottom, but to the optimistic Bonnies fans, they think you guys can do a lot better this season. Realistically speaking, in the players' perspective, where do you guys think that you guys can finish at the end of the season?
I think we could be in the top half. We were just voted low because people don't know what we have. They haven't heard of some people that have come, and I think we're going to be just a shocking team in the A10 this year.
Awesome. Yep, we look forward to it. Tori, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We'll be right back to finish up the show.
But what is the ceiling for the Bonnies from what you see here?
Listen, I think this is a team that's good enough to beat anybody in America on a given night. And we're playing we played a great conference in ranked 10. And so it's exciting to see how this is all going to play out.
The Bonnies are hosting Alfred on Thursday, and we're going to get to see them on the court for the first time since March. And, we know what we have in the seniors. We know what the starting five is going to bring, but I'm looking for what the new guys are going to bring. Linton, Quadri, all these new guys, these new recruits that we're bringing in. What are they going to show? Do they know the system? Are they ready to play? That's a big thing to look forward to on the exhibition game.
Yeah, and the whole thing now is we've arrived. There's been a ton of buzz and talk and excitement and everything over the off season. Probably more buzz than there's ever been. Certainly in my lifetime, probably going back to the Final Four season of 1970, and we're here now. We've got the exhibition against Alfred on Thursday. They do it for real next Tuesday against Siena. Now's the time to embrace expectations, and that's what they want to do. Coach Schmidt himself said the other day, we're going to embrace this number 23 ranking. We're going to embrace this unanimous preseason number 1, and let's just see how good we can be, and we'll start to find out soon.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's episode. You'll get your first look at the St. Bonaventure Bonnies on November 4th in that exhibition game against Alfred. So for JP Butler and Anthony Goss, I'm Ryan Bowlin saying so long. See you next week.